Chapter 2. Listening to understand, not just respond. When we talk about listening, most people think of it as simply hearing the words someone says. It's an automatic response, a reflex. You hear sounds, you recognize words, and maybe you respond. But the truth is, listening is much more than that. Listening is an art, and the way we listen can completely change the outcome of any conversation. The way most people approach listening is with one goal in mind: to wait for their turn to speak. You listen just enough to catch the main points, then you jump in with your own thoughts. This kind of listening is transactional. You're not truly engaged in what the other person is saying. You're thinking about your own response while they're still talking. This is why so many conversations feel shallow and why misunderstandings happen so often. It's not because we don't care, but because we're not fully listening. Real listening, the kind that leads to better understanding and stronger relationships, is about being present. It's about focusing entirely on the person in front of you. It's not just about hearing their words, but also understanding the meaning behind them. When you listen to understand, you're not just waiting for your chance to talk. You're actually engaging with the person's thoughts and feelings. This is what makes a conversation meaningful. Imagine talking to someone who isn't just hearing your words, but is actively trying to understand the message you're trying to convey. They don't interrupt or finish your sentences for you. Instead, they lean in, make eye contact, and nod, showing they're really hearing you. Doesn't that make you feel like you matter, like what you're saying is important? That's the power of listening with intention. Listening to understand requires a shift in mindset. It means setting aside your own thoughts, opinions, and judgments long enough to fully take in what the other person is saying. You stop thinking about how you'll respond and start focusing on their words, their emotions, their perspective. This is harder than it sounds, especially in a world where distractions are everywhere. But when you make the effort to truly listen, you're telling the other person, "I care about what you have to say." This alone can change the entire tone of a conversation. You don't need to be an expert to listen better. It's a skill that anyone can develop, and it starts with being more mindful of your own tendencies. Do you find yourself interrupting? Do you finish other people's sentences? Do you zone out when someone is talking for a long time? These are all signs that you may be listening to respond, not to understand. The first step is to become aware of how you listen. Think about the last conversation you had where you felt truly heard. Maybe it was with a close friend, a family member, or even a colleague. How did that make you feel? Likely, it made you feel valued and respected. And the truth is, people respond well to that kind of attention. When you truly listen to someone, they're more likely to trust you, share more openly, and engage more deeply in the conversation. One of the most powerful things you can do to improve your listening skills is to remove distractions. In today's world, distractions are everywhere: phones, computers, noise, thoughts about the future. It's easy to be physically present in a conversation but mentally elsewhere. When you're having a conversation with someone, put down your phone, turn off the television, and focus completely on the person in front of you. This simple act shows that you care about what they're saying. Sometimes, listening means giving someone the space to speak without interrupting, even if it feels uncomfortable. Pauses in conversation can feel awkward, but they're important. They allow the person speaking to gather their thoughts, and they give you the chance to process what's been said. Instead of rushing to fill the silence with your own words, take a moment to reflect on what you've heard. When you give someone that kind of attention, they feel valued. And it's in these moments of thoughtful listening that deeper connections are built. It's also important to listen with empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It's one thing to hear someone's words. It's another to understand how they feel while saying them. Maybe someone is frustrated, sad, or excited. By listening with empathy, You can pick up on the emotions behind the words and respond in a way that shows you truly understand them. Have you ever had a conversation where you're speaking about something personal and the other person seems completely disconnected? They might nod their head, but you can tell they're not really hearing you. It's frustrating, right? It's because they're not listening with empathy. They're not tuned into your emotions, and as a result, the connection between you starts to fade. On the other hand, when someone listens with empathy, it's like they're right there with you, feeling what you feel. It builds trust and strengthens the relationship. Another aspect of listening is being patient. We often have a tendency to want to fix problems or offer solutions as soon as someone starts speaking. But sometimes people don't need solutions, they just need to be heard. When someone is sharing a problem with you, try to resist the urge to immediately jump in with advice. Instead, focus on listening to their feelings and offering your support by simply being present. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is just listen. Effective listening also involves asking the right questions. When you listen to understand, you can ask questions that encourage deeper conversation and help clarify the other person's point of view. It's not about interrogation, it's about showing genuine interest in what they're saying. Questions like, "How did that make you feel?" or "Can you tell me more about that?" open the door for deeper discussion and show that you're fully engaged in the conversation. It's easy to think that listening is just passive, that you're just sitting there absorbing information. But the truth is, listening is an active process. It requires your full attention and a willingness to engage. You can't listen to understand if your mind is wandering or if you're already thinking about the next thing you're going to say. It requires discipline and a commitment to truly connect with the person you're talking to. When you listen with intention, you're not just hearing words, you're understanding the person behind those words. Listening to understand also improves your ability to communicate effectively. When you take the time to fully understand someone's point of view, it becomes much easier to respond in a way that's thoughtful and considerate. You can build on what they've said instead of jumping to conclusions or offering irrelevant responses. This makes conversations more productive, less frustrating, and more enjoyable for everyone involved. The power of listening goes beyond just improving conversations. It can also change the way people see you. When you consistently listen with empathy, attention, and care, people begin to trust you more. They'll feel heard and understood, and this leads to stronger relationships, whether personal or professional. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel seen and valued. So, how do you start practicing listening to understand? It begins with being mindful of your own behavior. Pay attention to how often you interrupt or zone out. Challenge yourself to really focus on the speaker and their message. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to the conversation. Practice empathy by trying to tune into the emotions behind the words. When you listen deeply, you create an environment where people feel safe, valued, and respected. By learning to listen not just with your ears but with your heart and mind, you'll become a better communicator, a better friend, a better partner, and a better leader. You'll find that people open up to you more, share more honestly, and connect with you on a deeper level. And the best part? You'll begin to notice the difference in how your relationships evolve, becoming stronger, more trusting, and more fulfilling.